Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
I'm feeling sassy.
I like when you feel sassy, McSasserson.
Yeah, I'm sassy.
I love it.
Get ready.
Hey, everybody out there in the world. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Me and Mrs. Weedman are about to get normal, and we're about to smoke some apples and bananas
Yay.
grown by our good friend Jay Cush, who you might remember him been on the show a couple times back in the early days. And Jay Cush also did a DJ mix for me for our 420 episode of a couple of years back. So Jay Cush, we want to thank you for this bananas and apples, or apples and bananas cannabis strain that you homegrowed yourself, brother.
Ooh.
And I've seen plenty of your pictures on Instagram. And then also you gave me 2 packs, and this apples and bananas, when I opened it up, I brought it up to Mrs. Weedman to smell, and she was like, ooh, this
Great.
smells nice. And it smells sour like an apple. I didn't smell the banana, but let's read about it. I actually found some information about this. This apples and bananas is evenly balanced hybrid strain, 50-50 indica sativa, created through crossing the delicious platinum cookies, Granddaddy Perp, ooh, I love Granddaddy Perp, Blue Power, and Gelati strains. When it comes to flavor of this bud, the name says it all. Apples and bananas packs a sweet and fruity taste that's filled with delicious sugary bananas and sharply sour apples. I think the sour apples got Mrs. Weedman. With a touch of black pepper to it, ooh, maybe that's why. The aroma takes a spicier turn with sharp punches of savory diesel and sweet chemicals added in. The apples and bananas high is just delicious, with full body effects that will hit you hard and leave you dazed. You'll feel the heady effects almost immediately, lifting your mind to a state of happy euphoria that's accompanied by boosts of creativity. You've been waiting for a strain
I
like
want
this. As you find your mind wandering through artistic ideas and visions, a deeply relaxing tingle will begin to work its way throughout your entire body. Tingling feelings through your toes.
I'm ready to get creative.
This buzzing effect can turn stimulating and arousing at times too.
Watch out, Mr. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman likes this strain a lot.
I'm putting my glasses on. Things are getting official.
These effects, combined with its super high average THC is 23 to 30%. And usually around 1 to 2% CBD level, makes apples and bananas a great choice for treating chronic pain, depression, chronic stress, appetite loss or nausea, and muscle spasm and cramps. Ooh, I like this strain. I might have
This is like made for me.
I'm going to talk to Jay Cush and see if he's got some beaners of these.
We need some seeds.
Yeah, this bud has grape-shaped fluffy forest green nugs, 100%. These things were fluffy, and they were sticky, and they were green, with deep purple leaves matching undertones, thin orange hairs. So effects, aroused.
Wow.
Ooh,
That's number one?
Number one.
Shoot.
Creative, euphoria, happy, relaxing, tingly. Relieve of symptoms, chronic pain, cramps, depression, muscle spasms, and stress. Flavors, apple, berry, chemical, fruity, peppery, and sweet. And then aromas are earthy. I smelt the fruitiness of it for sure. Herbal and spicy. What do you think, Mrs. Weedman?
My taste buds have they're not helpful today.
No?
I catch some peppery and I catch some fruity at the end, but I'm not
The
getting
smell
much
is very
otherwise.
fruity.
It
The
smokes really nice.
The aroma is fruity. I smelled it the moment you lit it up. So
I could smell it when it was a dry bud before you rolled it, and it was really, really nice.
Oh.
Yeah. It's smooth. So we'll see where this takes us in the next 10 minutes
We
or
might
so.
get a little funky.
We might have to take a break.
Yeah. I doubt it.
Doubt it.
This is really good, though. Jay Cush, thank you, my brother. I appreciate the gift. I love when people give me nugs to try on the show. We've been smoking a lot of our own for a while, and especially a ton of Big Earl. So, and as much as Big Earl has given us, and he stopped by over the weekend and gave us 4, 5, 6 fantastic strains
To try.
And this one, though, is really nice. And Jay Cush, brother, I appreciate you, man, for throwing us for the show. Shout out to Jay Cush.
Thanks, Jay Cush.
It's funny, I gave him that name the first time we recorded, and he's kept it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's his Instagram name, too.
I like it.
Yeah, I love it.
It is a good name.
So we watched the final episode of Junior Bake Off. I'm good with the weed. I'm really good with the weed right now, Mrs. Weedman's
think
trying to
I'm
force
good.
more on me.
No, I was questioning, like, do you want
I-
more before
no,
I put
I'm
it out?
good.
Okay.
But we watched the final episode of Junior Bake Off, and what a really good finale, first and foremost. But let's talk about Harry.
Oh,
the
Harry,
host.
he is a goof, and I am telling you, he is blazing stoned. He's backstage, freaking just hitting dab rips. I think
Something, because
he's funny. His humor is
oh my
total high
gosh.
humor.
It's but here's the thing.
It's slapstick. It's corny, and it's just
adult humor, but with kid influence in it.
And these kids are like higher level thinking.
Oh yeah.
So they catch it.
Yes,
They get it.
yes,
I mean, they're
and-
not. He's not giving sophisticated.
No.
jokes
But
or
he gives it
anything,
back to. They give it back to
but
him
yeah,
too.
they-
But how
it's-
about when he
it's
was
great.
he made that big towel ball, like a
Oh my God.
gigantic plastic towel ball, and he jumped on it and
This
rolled.
ball was like 5 feet in diameter. It was actually as tall as him,
Yes.
and I don't know how tall he is. So let's say it was 5.5 feet in diameter. Circumference?
I don't know.
Mr. Weedman's getting annoyed with
I don't
me.
know. You know I'm not good with math.
Well, anyway, he looked at this big ball that they rolled out into the middle of the stage, and he just impulsively ran and jumped on it and went whoop right over the backside of it, and then came up a second later holding his shoulder like, oh, what the frick was I doing?
Yeah.
It was the funny. We're like, what did he just
We were
do?
hysterical
It was a
laughing.
hysterical.
And then the next episode, he came
was
in with
gone.
a shoulder.
No, he was
gone.
gone. Yeah.
Yes. And then the next episode, he came in with a shoulder sling.
with a sling. It's hysterical.
fucking
We're like, oh
dying.
my God, he's got to be totally high.
There was a
What is he
one-liner he
thinking?
threw at Frasier about something about punching somebody, and you
Oh my God, yeah.
were crying laughing, and we had to rewind it to watch it
did.
again because I was faded for a second from the fucking Nami Nugs you made, and
Oh my
I
God.
missed it. And yeah.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Oh my God,
He's pretty
Yes,
funny.
and what a great episode. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna tell you who won. It was the finale. It was great. So then we have new shows to watch, and I gave Mrs. Weedman the choice between The Bear, season 2, and The Fabulous Gemstones. I think that's season 3.
But wait a
maybe.
minute, wait a minute. Here's how a choice goes when you're married to Mr. Weedman, the salesman. Well, we could watch The Bear, and that would air. We could watch all of the episodes at our convenience, or we could watch the dazzling jewels gemstones,
The Fabulous
gemstones. But those release only weekly. Okay, so he asks me, right? So I'm like, well, why don't we watch the gemstones, and then while we wait for the next episode, we watch The Bear? He's like, no, it would really just be better. And then he goes into this whole like reason why he sold me on why his idea would really be better. But he gave me an opportunity.
I did.
You gave me an opportunity to choose.
Choose.
That
Yes.
you took away then.
I didn't take it away. I just
And
here's
then
the
it's
thing.
just kind of like, fine, you know what?
Here's the reason why. I I didn't want to watch both episodes.
I'm
at
in
the same-
sales too.
I know.
Very different styles.
But I didn't want to watch both episodes at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, just because it's like you and we like to concentrate on one show, especially you.
Keep it
like,
simple.
They keep it simple. So that's why I gave you this salesman pitch of like, no,
Yep.
I'm gonna pull you in
I'm
and
gonna
say-
propose a better plan. I don't care what you have to say.
I,
No, you do care what I have to say.
Bullshit.
But
I
you,
care what
you,
you say.
but you have an idea of what you would like to do. Like, what would you like to have for dinner tonight? And I name off some things. You'd be like, I'd really like to have a burger. Okay, Portillo's. Oh no, it's okay. Do you want to go somewhere? No, we'll go to Portillo's. Okay. It's like,
as we
I
play,
love you, Mr. Weedman.
as we play footsie under the table.
Yeah, with my
Your
cold,
feet are
clammy
fucking
feet.
Freeze.
It's the weirdest weather right now.
Your feet are get away from me right now with
Get
those
out.
feet. I wasn't prepared. And now
frozen.
Jay Cush,
Yeah, this is good.
that fucking strain, it was spot on what it said about it. It will hit you quick. And
I feel like I'm getting like that slow breathing, you know?
within 5 minutes. I felt it.
I'm
And
gonna
I
start
feel my
sniffling.
cheeks are tingling.
I think I'm not breathing.
No,
You know that like where you start breathing so slowly, you're like, come on.
you weren't breathing the other night when Mrs. Weedman, we made
I
butter.
wasn't breathing.
We made butter and oil and I used a lot of cannabis for this,
Yeah.
and it was mostly mids, and probably about 90% mids,
And
the
then
rest
for some
sugar
strange
leaf.
reason, I decided to put double. Usually, whatever the oil or the fat is in a recipe, I kind of have a calculation that I do. I substitute with infused.
So
And this time I just did the whole thing
you
infused.
did, and I finally
it
talked
was,
you into it.
Oh my God.
And so Mrs. Weedman has a repertoire or a cookbook of edibles that she makes, about 9 edibles, but then also some dressings and stuff like that too. She makes. We made some sugar before, but she has a recipe of 9 strong, solid, like
That I created.
that she created. And this one is a recipe that she created just to eat and make without any cannabis in it back in 2007, 2008.
Probably, yeah. And then I was
And-
working with the Small Business Administration.
But
mentorship.
these are granola bars, homemade granola bars. And they are fantastically made and well done, all just clean ingredients. And she used to make it with a honey caramel. So we called it after her grandmother's, called Nami Nugs, because your grandmother's name were
Nana and Mimi.
Nami Nugs. And so in 2014, 2013, when we started making edibles with THC butter in there, I said, why don't you try the Nami Nugs? This was like 4 reps of like different recipes and of making some other edibles. And I said, why don't you try it? And I bought these to a party, to a brewery I worked at, and handed these out. And it knocked people's socks off. I mean, that's how good these are. And I'm giving you props, Mrs. Weedman. I'm not saying they're the best or anything like that, but they are really, really
They're good.
And
I made them too high dose this time, though, so you can't really enjoy them.
so the bad part about these is you want to eat
So much.
so much more than just one. And these, I would say, about 15 to 20 milligrams.
This batch?
Yeah, each nug, and not a full bar nug,
No,
just a
this is
nuglet.
Like a 1-inch square, like a cube.
Yeah, like a cube. And are you really high?
I'm so high.
I can tell. You're
and it's so
baked.
disappointing that you just can't eat more of them.
I know. So on Saturday night,
I'm really high. I'm slumpy. I might end up. We smoked lava cake, and remember, I ended up on the floor, and I'm like, how did I get on the floor? I was laying on my back, like with flailing my arms. I'm like, how did I get down here? I feel like that I'm kind of
You're
sliding
slumping?
out. I'm slumping.
Well, I'll keep on talking and telling this story.
If I disappear, come and find me.
So we created these the other night again. We haven't made them in probably about a year, and we usually make a big enough batch to give some away to friends and family, and then for us to keep, and we put some in the freezer for later. And we ate them on Saturday night. I ate one, and this is the same butter we made the popcorn with when we watched the movie Babylon.
Right?
And
We couldn't move.
I was sitting on the couch. We were watching TV, and all of a sudden it started hitting. And I'm like, all right, we need to take the dog for a walk. Let's do it now. We took the dog for a nice walk around the block and came back, and we sat down and we started watching
We did that last night.
Saturday
or the
night.
other night, yeah.
And we started watching Evil Dead, the new one, Rise.
Oh, yeah, that was so dumb.
And I watched the original Evil Dead back when I was like 12 in the 80s, and it was like scared the crap out of me. And so I've watched them all. And so this one I had to watch. So it was on, and we wound up watching it. It was fucking just as bad as all the other ones, but just as good for me. And creepy as hell. But all of a sudden around midnight, this thing kicked in tenfold. And I am like melting in the couch. And the crazy thing about it, the people on the TV were melting on the TV too, because they were the demons from the Evil Dead, and their faces were good. And I was like, whoa, these are so good. I'm like, and everybody.
I just fell asleep. So
everybody-
you wrote it out.
Yeah, and I didn't think at one point you were breathing. So then I went and I took a step outside.
Yeah.
It was like around 1.
Literally? You went outside?
I went out. Well, I came back and got you. I woke you up.
Oh, that's right. You did.
So I went outside because I was really high, and I just wanted. It was so nice out on Saturday. It was a slight breeze, 69, 70
nice.
degrees. And I went outside to step outside for a second with Yuki so she could pee one more time. And I started seeing heat lightning like west of our house. And I came back. I'm like, Mrs. Weedman, wake up. And you're like, what's going on? I'm like, just come outside.
Yeah, just come sit on the porch.
And we
with me.
sat on the porch for like 45 minutes and watched this heat lightning, and it wound up turning into a nice rainy storm. But it was beautiful. But the breeze and it made the high and the experience.
It was crisp.
Oh, everything was bright and crisp, and the lightning was like felt like it was coming at you because it was big long streams. But the high of these Nami Nugs and everybody who we've given them to in the last couple of days, family and friends, I said, listen. These creep up on you, so just be prepared. Start low and go slow.
Yeah.
Eat a half. We're sorry we didn't make them 5 milligrams, so you can eat 4 of them. But
That was the plan.
That
I
was
just
the
got
plan.
A little carried away.
with the butter.
Like, screw it.
Yeah.
Let's go all. Yeah.
And so I've talked to a few people. Dov Boy, who's been on the show, one of the founders of the Weedman 420 Chronicles, he's on 3 tonight.
Oh.
And I go, how you feeling?
Ooh.
Dov Boy.
Yeah, is he in the corner?
I asked him how you feeling, and he goes, I feel fucking great. And then here, Big Earl.
It's a nice, long, steady.
Oh, yeah. And the
steady.
sleep is amazing. So I talked to Big Earl before we recorded the Grow Hour yesterday, and he stopped by and we gave him a bunch, and he's been eating them every night, and he's like, these are the best things I've ever fucking tasted.
Nice.
These things are fucking delicious. And he can't stop eating them.
Can't.
I said, I told you that's the problem, Earl.
it, yeah.
I told you that's the problem. So he sends me a text. He shoots me a text like 2 hours, 3 hours before we recorded last night. Damage control. I said, what the fuck happened? Picture, he dropped the 8 decades jar all over the floor because he was faded. And last night when we were recording, all of a sudden I see him because we do the live, we do Riverside. I see him and his eyes were literally fucking shut. Fucking shut. And all of a sudden he's in the middle of a conversation with Alabrije, who we had on the show.
What he was talking about?
He said the whole sentence backwards. All of a sudden he's like, oh, I just said that backwards, and I started fucking Alabrije was fucking crying. You have to catch that show.
I guess.
It was he was fucking
So
faded.
funny.
Like towards the end of the show, though. I mean, his eyes. So we got done. Him and I stay on
Did
for like.
he eat one before the show?
He must.
And then he was
have.
smoking?
Yeah, he's like, dude, I
Shit.
can't stop eating these. And I said, dude, and he was eating the big bars.
Oh fuck!
Not the chunks.
Come on, big girl.
And he was like faded last night towards the end of the show.
God.
So when we got off, I'm trying to talk to him. I said, dude, you're fucked up, man. He goes, I can't keep my eyes open right now, dude. I'm fading. I'm like, dude. He goes, I know it. I said the last sentence, the whole thing backwards. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Oh my god.
I love you, brother. It was such a dope ass show
great.
last night, man. So, Mrs. Weedman, you ready to get the show started?
Yeah, let's
That was
get
a
going.
long story. Sorry, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I do, because it was fucking the high
fun.
this whole week has been lovely. So, seeds, sales, and home growing soar, which the last night episode of the Grow Hour with Alabrije and a lot of stuff that Big Earl and I talk about has to do with home grow. Has to, and caregiving programs and breeders. But so it's soaring, and now home growers are bypassing the dispensary. So home growing is on the rise in the states with medical and adult use cannabis. Arkansas, Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut is starting July 1st. Maine, Missouri, Nevada, you have to be 25 plus miles from a dispensary. New Mexico, Vermont, and Washington, D.C. have no grow your own limits. That's fucking amazing. Massachusetts and Mississippi limit home grows to 10 ounces, and Oregon is 8 ounces. Once New York rules are finalized, they'll be able to grow up to 5 pounds at home.
5 pounds. That's a lot of plants.
That's a lot of fucking
That's a lot of fucking weed.
They should just make the home growers get a license and become caregivers, because they
Right.
can't fucking get their shit together right now with dispensaries and people. There's so much abundance of weed right now. I would never, if I was able to grow. I mean, you can grow here in Illinois. They didn't mention Illinois on here. Illinois' home grow 5 plants, 5 pounds. That's a lot of home grow.
Mm-hmm.
That's teaching somebody their own business model. to do that. So other states are ironing out those rules, or don't specify rules or limits. However, not everyone is adept in the increasingly specialized science of growing cannabis. With the surge of new home growers, thanks to growing provisions rolling out in numerous states, there's an increase in demand for high quality, easy to grow seeds. And we talked with Alabrije yesterday on the Grow Hour, all about auto feminized. It's a great episode. Please listen to it. He did a phenomenal job, really educational. I will tell you, it was one of the most educational, deep educational talks about autos and auto feminized flowers. So help you all you home growers out there. According to the recent report published by Portland, Oregon-based Allied Market Research, the global cannabis seeds industry was estimated at $1.3 billion in 2021 and set to reach $6.5 billion by 2031. That's globally. That's just not the United States. That's globally. The feminized seed segment in particular is expected to grow the fastest, with a CAGR of 19.5% over the forecast period. Huge. Top-tier cannabis seeds vendors are also witnessing a significant increase in demand for feminized and auto-flowering cannabis seeds. Please listen to that episode on the Grow Hour 25. The small batch craft cannabis seed company provides battle-tested strains. I learned so much from that episode about growing auto flowers and auto feminized that I didn't know about because I've never grown them before, and we have 2 outside. I learned so much on that episode.
Yeah.
I mean, there was shit I didn't know. So please listen to that episode. Auto-flowering feminized seeds ensure that new growers don't grow dreaded males and don't flower or pollinate crops, ruining them. Over the past decade, the cannabis seeds market has undergone a significant transformation, says some of these brokers. Just 5 years ago, regular seeds dominated the market. We talked about this last night. Accounting for 80% of all sales in the United States, this company's sales, at the time, feminized and autoflower seeds were hard to sell. We talked about this last night, too. It's fucking crazy. In fact, as owners of this young seed bank, I was so skeptical about the sustainability of autoflower seeds that I initially refused to sell them. There's actually breeders today that refuse to sell them. I'm not going to go into the feminized and what feminized and autoflowering seeds are. You can listen to the Grow Hour on that. We talk about that, and we've actually talked about this on prior episodes. But high quality genetics is big, with over 1,000 strains regularly in stock in this one seed bank's repertoire. That's one seed bank. Has really good feminized and autoflower seeds. They started in Washington State. And the rise of online seed banks has made seeds readily available to cultivators across the country. And as more seed banks open up, as more breeders start opening up, you're going to see a shit ton. And you're going to find the breeders that you like to work with, so you build a good friendship with them. And you might work with only 4 or 5 because you trust their breeds the best. You might go off every once in a while and buy somebody else's here and there, but you're going to find the ones you like best, and those are the breeders that you're going to relate to with. They're going to take the time to talk to you about the issues you have with your plant. They're going to take the time to answer your questions about their breeds. They're going to have proper and good information on their packaging. Also, Alabrije, his packaging is so dope, it's all collectible. I would be like baseball cards, I said to him last night. So these breeders are really... especially the new generation of breeders, the last 10, 15 years of these breeders, or 20 years, it took them so long to get to this point, like to where it's being acceptable. The stigma's starting to be broken down a little bit. People are starting to accept home growers more and actually like homegrown weed better than any other weed. I'm not saying any cultivator's weed is bad out there. I've smoked a lot of it. There's some good, there's some mediocre, and there's some bad. But there's nothing better than growing your own. I've been doing it now since 2020, and I did it back in the 90s. I'm telling you right now, doing your own weed, even if it's just one plant. I got one plant going right now, and I'll show it to you all on Friday for Show Your Grow Fridays, the night picture of it all. This is why I do it. This picture I'm going to show on Friday. So I'm telling you, learn to home grow. Learn to collaborate with breeders. Learn to breed your own seeds too. Become some of a minor gardener at your house, and you will save The initial cost, yes, is some money, but you don't need to spend a ton in the beginning.
I'm doing it. Mr. Weedman does it pretty technically. He follows, his own little system and calendar of to-dos, and it's very cyclical and organized and planned. I said I just want what seed would give me the best opportunity to just throw a seed in dirt and water it and watch it grow outside. And so he gave me a couple autos. So I've got 2 little chubby autos. They look like little gremlins. They're, like, they're so cute. They're like little Gumbies. And they're growing. They're only maybe 18 inches tall, but they're like chubs.
Chunks.
They're chubs.
We got to clean out a
And
little
like
bit
all
of
of the shoots have really great buds happening all over the place already. So it's going to be a fast kind of turn and burn. But I was thinking for just someone who doesn't have time, but you have just enough garden space to put a plant, maybe you're in a condo, you could totally get away with this thing on a patio. You could get away with it in a backyard without nobody's going to notice it.
And this plant here...
And you could have enough potentially for, a month of smoking.
I learned yesterday about the outdoor auto grows is that they need 18 hours of light. So we only are giving it 12.
Yeah, so that it didn't grow as tall.
That, and it went to flower really quickly because it thought it was going in the fall. You can do them, and learning last night was great to know that. But for somebody who want to do a little patio, you need a southeast,
where you don't get
facing
all
window or
day
balcony. You can grow autos almost all year round. And that's what I learned last night. In the freeze, you'd probably have to take it inside, but you can possibly grow autos every 75 days.
Yeah.
And grow all year round.
It's pretty cool.
And
the thought is that they know what to do.
Yeah.
Give them a good nutrient dense soil.
And
you don't even give it additional nutrients. You just water it.
A little bit.
Maybe
Little goes a long way, and you need to put them in a cloth pot.
Yeah.
Because once the roots hit the cloth pot, they go into flower. And I learned that from Hummingbird Hills. So, great episode also. And, but yes, so you can do this outside, put 2 outside, 1 outside, and you can consistently have your own weed in your own house.
I'll put pictures in on Friday too.
Check out 8 Decades, at 8 Decades for Instagram, Mrs. Weedman, and then check out Weedman 420 Chronicles 2.0 for Show Your Grow Friday. And we'll post some pictures of them because they're fucking really cute. Good job. We love smoking joints. Love smoking joints. And Mrs. Weedman's favorite way is what?
To smoke a joint.
Smoke a joint. So there's 4 reasons here. Mrs. Weedman's going to tell us about the best way to smoke weed and why joints.
Yeah. 4 reasons why joints are the best way to smoke weed. Traditional, social, and convenient. Although we live in a world surrounded by dab rigs, 3-foot-tall bongs, and high-tech vaporizers, joints never die. It's the original way to smoke weed. Something about holding a joint between 2 fingers, inhaling, and smoothly exhaling feels ultra satisfying. Even the onset of a cough fit is something stoners appreciate. From offering an effortless way to catch a buzz on the fly to their ability to spark conversation, here are 4 reasons why joints are the best way to smoke weed. 1. You get the complete cannabis experience. As mentioned, it doesn't get much more traditional than smoking joints. You get to experience your favorite strains with their true intended flavors, aromas, and effects. Plus, joints are rolled using all natural papers. Unlike cigar wraps, which accommodate an unpleasant amount of tobacco and nicotine, joint papers typically don't introduce added flavors or toxic materials. While a hint of peach or pineapple combined with the earthy flavors of cannabis does present a unique taste, many cannabis enthusiasts prefer to relish that full flavor of their favorite herb rather than diminish it with a cigar leaf. Amen to that. I agree. Although joints don't provide a smoke-free way to ingest weed, they are unquestionably better for you than blunts. As you know, tobacco use can and will impair lung function. That's a fact that has been proven time and time again. Joints, on the other hand, don't have nearly the same effect. According to Medical Daily, a study conducted by Emory University in 2015 found that adults aged 18 to 59 who smoked one joint a day were still able to forcibly exhale the same volume of air in 1 second as someone who didn't smoke cannabis. You know what they say, everything in moderation. 2, they're semi-discreet and portable. Whipping out a decorative bong or a colorful pipe is sure to grab attention. Joints, however, are plain and simple. They can easily be mistaken for a cigarette from a distance. Of course, the aroma is a dead giveaway, but joints are far more discreet than rigs, pipes, and bongs. Not to mention, it's a lot easier to carry around than a rig or something similar. Nowadays, there are sleek and pocketable joint cases designed to keep your J's secure, fresh, and safe wherever you need them. It sure beats carrying around a backpack with a glass bong, I'd say. 3, joints are customizable works of art. When it comes to rolling a simple joint, it requires very little expertise. I challenge that. In fact, most people...
You've been rolling your own
I'm
joints.
trying. I'm really
You're
working
fucking
on
killing
it.
it. You rolled 3 this weekend, and 2 of the 3 were fucking
nice.
beautiful.
I've been
And I
watching
smoked,
how
all
people
3
do it.
smoked well.
Yep. Bruno rolls. He's a professional blunt roller. I watch his video, his
honkers.
yeah, he makes those big cigars. But you see the movements, and then you learn how to. Anyway, I'm learning. In fact, most people can nail rolling a joint the first time by watching a how-to video or referring to a step-by-step guide. And the better they get at it, the further they can branch out, taking whatever they've learned and using it to roll something a bit more challenging, like a $sign joint, or perhaps the infamous cross joint from Pineapple Express. You can also use your creativity to come up with your own ideas. That's yet another reason why joints are the best way to smoke weed. They are mini and sometimes even significant pieces of smokable art. And 4, joints are social. The final reason why joints are the best way to smoke weed is that they are perfect for socializing. Everyone has come across that one guy or gal at a social gathering who decides to pull out a joint. Chances are they'll be surrounded by a crowd looking to take a puff. Stoners basically invented the sharing is caring saying thanks to joint rotations. During those stony sessions, conversations flow naturally. There's an underlying sense of community within these social joint rotations, and that's something we wouldn't trade for the world. After all, it's not the person with the mixed drink that draws in the crowd. It's the one with the weed.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah. Just remember, puff, puff, and pass.
Puff, puffing away. That's my favorite one. Joints are so fucking social.
They are so social.
I mean, I can have a joint in my hand, and anybody that comes around, I'm like, you want some? And it goes around, and I love. We had a great joint session on Sunday. That was amazing. Joint session.
Impromptu.
Yeah, it was fun. I love.
And then
those.
it started raining. A couple people stopped by, started raining, so we were all kind of
huddled in
on the back porch,
telling stories, bullshitting, laughing, and
listening to some
smoking
music.
big fat joints. Oh my gosh,
It was fun.
Those joints were amazing. Thanks, Big Girl.
Yeah.
Is the U.S. cannabis industry collapsing? I posted this on my Instagram last week, and it was a report from Whitney Economics. I read a little bit of the report too. This wasn't every dispensary in the whole entire industry, every cultivator. This was done with a small amount. I think a small percentage, like 250, 300, all together with this. So it says that. Is the U.S. cannabis industry collapsing? A new report from Whitney Economics answers yes, while the Biden administration kicks the rescheduling of cannabis down the road for the 2024 election. Only 24% of U.S. cannabis businesses are profitable. So this article says, it's not me. My opinion, I'll tell you at the end. Whitney Economics is a consulting and research firm that compiles cannabis economic data into annual reports. They publish their findings in their second annual cannabis operator segment and business conditions. U.S. cannabis is collapsing, according to the survey report. Yes, it appears the U.S. cannabis industry is collapsing. Only 24.4% of cannabis operators in the U.S. are profitable. This is down 42% from the year before. Little to no access to banking, rising supply chain costs, and lower cannabis prices will continue to this collapse, to contribute to this collapse. The report suggests at least 7 quarters of below average growth. But is the U.S. cannabis industry collapsing beyond repair? That depends on what they learn from the traditional market. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud? Sorry. And on what state you find yourself in. The report found that government regulators determine if you succeed or fail. Rules and requirements that are too burdensome and capital intensive negatively affect cannabis businesses. The report highlights that markets and business conditions have changed, but regulators' policies have not. However, instead of moving toward free markets, 70% of the respondents want regulators to cap licenses. While this would limit competition and thus making the existing operators profitable, MSOs, vertically integrated companies, it does so at the expense of consumer choices. According to the report, U.S. cannabis is collapsing because legislative and regulatory policies focus on generating tax revenue instead of creating a viable and sustainable cannabis industry. 3 ways to reverse the U.S. cannabis industry collapse. Taxes. Here in the state of Illinois, the taxes are fucking ridiculous. The only people that are making money in this whole entire state is the fucking Illinois government. That is it. Okay, because everybody's giving their fucking shit away in this state. So taxes, here they made $600 million in taxes last year, and you still don't fucking deserve it. Regulatory rules. A market economy with regulation is impossible. The question is, who's doing the regulating? Entrepreneurs regulate each other by competing for consumers. Consumers regulate entrepreneurs by patronizing different competitors. The only way to profit, absent government privileges, is by exchanging goods and services with people. But not every business owner is honest. Some will cut corners at other expenses, and dispute will inevitably arise. That's the argument for regulation. But these large government regulatory bureaucracies are invention of the 20th century. Before, Western civilization relied on English common law. For centuries, we've developed rules and regulations from actual cases and settlements. Politicians didn't preemptively create new rules and empower expensive bureaucracies to enforce them. In this way, regulations were procedural and adapted to change. A common law legal system complements free market. A government-regulated market creates the conditions for regulatory capture and, in effect, economic fascism. Access to capital. We all know almost everybody can't get a fucking loan from the bank in the cannabis industry. And the banking law, I'll talk about that in a minute. But we've been hearing about this for a few years now, and they're still not doing anything about it. So we all know what's going on. Access to capital is fucking tough for cannabis companies. They have nowhere to put their money or get money to be able to build and expand and borrow like most companies can do. And here's the thing. If you're going to treat cannabis as a legal entity and you can sell it medically, recreationally here or in any state, you need to treat it the way you treat alcohol. You need to treat it the way you treat alcohol. I don't give a fuck about cigs. The alcohol industry, do I agree with all of it? No. But it's better than what you are doing and treating the cannabis industry. And it's not fair. And I came from alcohol and booze and beer. So I'm telling you right now, this is doomed to failure because no one's making money but the governments, and everybody has to give their product away to attract people. So people are only buying your products when they see it on sale. So you're losing money to help pay your employees better, to help fund more projects. Good for the consumer, but also maybe there's cuts on what you're making also to get a little bit of a cheaper product out there. It has to do with government regulations and access to capital and taxes, and the cannabis industry is being beat up by all three and the government. So I'll end it on that. But I will say this: I believe that the regulated legal cannabis industry could learn better from the traditional market. In my opinion, the traditional market knows how to make money. I understand they don't have to pay taxes, but they have to pay a lot of other things, and they lose a lot of money too on lost product being taken by the government. So there's that for you. So they might lose millions of dollars a year in lost product because being taken by the government, but they know how to run a business because they've been doing it and making billions of dollars every year, and everyone makes money. So that's just my opinion. Take it or leave it. Feeling high correlates with greater symptoms relief for medical cannabis patients, studies find.
Yes, a study published by the University of New Mexico in the journal Frontiers in Pharmacology found that patients who feel high after using cannabis often experience greater symptom relief. Entitled Understanding Feeling High and Its Role in Medical Cannabis Patient Outcomes, researchers worked with Relief app to study nearly 2,000 medical cannabis patients. Of that number, the participants recorded over 16,000 administration, quote unquote, sessions with cannabis flower. Jacob Vigil, senior author and associate professor of psychology, explained the goal behind this particular study. Feeling high is poorly defined in the scientific literature, but is generally associated with both impairment and feelings of euphoria, Vigil said. Typically, feeling high is assumed to be the goal of recreational use, but a limitation to cannabis therapeutic potential. In this paper, we test the validity of this assumption and find that feeling high may be an unavoidable component of using cannabis medicinally. That is very interesting.
Very.
In this study, researchers found that 49% reported feeling high, which correlated with positive effects such as feeling chill or happy, while negative side effects included dry mouth and red eyes. They also found that 7.7% experienced greater symptom relief and reported an increase in feelings of relaxation and peace, while 20% of participants reported negative side effects. Researchers sought to further define how feeling high applies to both impairment and euphoria, where feeling high was statistically significantly associated with feeling clumsy, confused, dizzy, foggy, and paranoid, as well as effects like happy, grateful, great, and optimistic. They also confirmed that there were many examples of feeling high and receiving symptom relief. This suggests that feeling high may be a fundamental component of the effective use of cannabis as medicine, rather than an incidental negative effect to be avoided in clinical settings, explained an article published in the UNM newsroom. Participant THC levels were strongly associated with feelings of being high, specifically while using a vaporizer in comparison to effects experienced after smoking flower. Researchers noted that ultimately this results suggested that higher THC increases symptom relief only if the patient feels high. This is nuts. Although these observations held true for both male and female participants, specifically those who suffer from anxiety, depression, pain, and fatigue. However, the feeling of being high did not strongly contribute to symptom relief for those who suffer from insomnia. Additionally, for patients over 40 years old, being high and experiencing symptom relief was less strong. According to the study's lead author, Sarah Stith, who also holds a position as Associate Professor of Economics, the study showcases the challenges that researchers face when examining cannabis and how it interacts with the body. Cannabis products are extremely variable in their phytochemical composition, and patients vary extensively beyond even factors included in the study, such as symptom, type, gender, age, and cannabis experience, Stith said. In addition, factors that increase symptom relief, such as feeling high and THC, are associated with increased negative side effects, such as impairment. These complexities suggest that the future of cannabis as medicine lies in highly customized treatments rather than the conventional pharmaceutical model of standardized dosing for most patients. This is so interesting. Researchers recommend that clinicians should become more familiar with the connection between feeling high and symptom relief, and that legislators should understand that even recreational cannabis could lead to unintended health benefits. They conducted that future researchers should consider the results of this study for further examination. Future studies would benefit from measurements of the mental and physical effects of consuming other non-cannabinoid phytochemicals that commonly develop in the cannabis plant, such as terpenes, as well as how heat exposure through temperature, controlled vaping, and pressure affect the bioavailability and pharmacodynamics, the study concluded. So there are definitely more studies to come, but I just think that's really fascinating that, everybody's very comfortable, well, not everybody, but many people are very comfortable using CBD products even though there's no regulation, you don't know that you're even getting something that's coming from a hemp plant. It could be essential oils and wax for all you know. It may not even be THC or hemp or whatever. And here and so people like it. It's more comfortable because you don't get the psychotropic effects. You don't get high. But we have said many times on the show that it has been proven and studied that CBD with a low ratio of THC is more effective. You achieve more benefit, and maybe that factors in that whole psychotropic thing. So maybe this isn't completely new news. It is kind of the philosophy of using cannabis as medicine.
Yeah.
And if you think back in history, before we had computers and all of the freedom of all the knowledge that we receive, people were just, think back to when people used it for treatment, for medicine. It wasn't regulated, right?
Right.
We didn't know how much THC was in something. You knew you were high when you felt high.
Right.
And that's when they used it as medicine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Did I make sense? Because
I think you did.
I lost myself there.
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm ready to smoke some more of that, but that's, man.
I think I made my point.
Yeah, you did.
I hope I
That was a
did.
great article by High Times. The other one too, Cannabis Life Network, I just read. That was a good one. Herb, another good article. Forbes, always throwing out some decent articles when it comes to cannabis. I love it. So here's something crazy. DeSantis, he's all about medical in his state. He's done a lot for the medical program in some ways. In some ways he hasn't, because it's all MSO owned and all corporate cannabis. But he's done some things that are okay. Like he just gave black farmers licenses to grow cannabis in the state of Florida, which is awesome. He did some stuff for veterans in the state with cannabis. But here's the thing: he's running for president right now, and he will not decriminalize cannabis. It's not on his agenda if he's elected president. It's kind of shitty, So as I heard some of the other Republican candidates said the same thing, like Pence and a couple other ones too. For me, that is whether I don't play the party thing. I vote for who I like and who best suits my. And Mrs. Weedman and I feel the same about this. Who best suits what we like and stand for and
believe in and want for the country that we live in.
Right. Yeah. So, I could not agree with Ron DeSantis on this, and I think it's wrong because here's the funny thing: Robert F. Kennedy Jr. takes hit at DeSantis over cannabis decriminalization opposition, but he was on Bill Maher when he talked about this, and he declined to smoke a joint. But he said that if he got elected, that he would decriminalize it, and he pledged to enact federal cannabis reform if elected. So, it's just, how could you be a Florida governor and have at least medically? Why wouldn't you at least federally legalize it medically then and do what you're doing in Florida? And not it should be on your agenda. It's a big issue and a big topic for this whole country, especially the people who use cannabis medically, recreationally, dispensary owners, cultivator owners, companies that are in cannabis. It is a big deal. Cannabis employs a lot of people, and a lot, and it's going to be one of the top employed industry in this country probably in the next 10 years. So how could you not? Why should people in the cannabis industry take a look at you when you don't even have their best interest in mind? And then you got Robert Kennedy, though, bragging about it, saying that he would decriminalize it, but he wouldn't smoke on TV. Smoke on TV, man. Mm-hmm. The cannabis community would appreciate that somebody that's an elected official actually smoked it live, not just said they smoked it like past presidents have. Smoke that fucking shit if it's offered to you. Pass the joint with Bill Maher. It would have been fucking amazing if you did that. Schumer, which I still don't believe it. I'm going to believe it when it happens. Confident marijuana banking bill will pass this session, according to cannabis entrepreneur who spoke with majority leader. I'm just going to say I believe it when I see it. I can't believe it. You know, I've heard it so much time. The SAFE Act, too, they're talking about, made a compelling case. Representative Dean Phillips made a compelling case for the SAFE Act, a piece of legislation struggling to make it across the congressional finish line. The truth is, I've got a lot of Republican colleagues who are actually very favorable of this subject, but the fact of the matter is, I don't think leadership is open or highlighting the challenges of the SAFE Act currently faces. So there's another thing, too, the SAFE Act, the Safe Banking Act. It's just, I just can't fathom why it's not done. A decline in youth cannabis use in Rhode Island is down. So that's awesome. Cannabis industry in Albuquerque, following the legalization of cannabis in New Mexico, the city of Albuquerque now boasts more cannabis dispensaries than liquor stores. Crazy. There's a big crackdown on illegal cannabis sales in New York City. Been talking about that for a while. It's not going to stop because you can't get your shit together to get dispensaries open up fast enough. And if I was able to grow 5 pounds of weed in your state, you would never see me at a dispensary. You don't now, but, you know. Debates surrounding medical cannabis implementation in Kentucky is happening. Kentucky has faced delays in implementing its medical cannabis laws, attributing the setbacks to 53 mistakes found in the bill. Great. Connecticut's focus on regulated cannabis market and public safety has taken a strong stance against the illegal cannabis market, emphasizing the need to protect public safety and combat unlicensed and unregulated THC products. He's talking about Delta 8 too and some other things. So I don't know. This Elkins Park medical cannabis dispensary, workers vote to unionize. The medical cannabis industry across PA generates $7.3 billion in retail stores. Workers say they want more than $17 an hour. God bless, you deserve it, and have voted to unionize. Dispensary workers in Elkin Park, an unincorporated community just north of Philadelphia, told their bosses they want to unionize on the biggest marijuana holiday of the year, 420. There was others across the country that did that too. After that, the vibe at work changed for 26-year-old Robert Franco, who commutes from Kenningston to Restore Integrative Wellness Center, a medical cannabis dispensary in Old York Road. Everybody was always anxious, Franco said. It was like walking on eggshells the entire time. He got fired. But here's the thing. Unions find foothold in marijuana industry, but slow growth. But growth is slow. I will say this. Like I said a couple minutes ago, the cannabis industry is going to be one of the largest industries in the United States. In the next 10 years, you will probably have close to 2 to 3 million workers. I'm talking about the whole industry. If you formed a union, you will be one of the most powerful unions in the country. You will be able to get and provide for you and your families and yourself. And if you do this right, start your own union. Don't go to these other unions that don't care, don't really know about cannabis and the cannabis industry as a whole. They just want dollars and more members. If you formed your own union, you would be one of the most powerful unions in the country. Just my opinion. Small Michigan town sees potential monopoly for cannabis stores. Cannabis real estate developer Jeffrey Yatoma could soon have dominance of Auburn Hills marijuana market. Yatoma's impending dominance comes after a creative and successful ballot initiative that led to Auburn Hills voters approving weed businesses in the city in November of 2022. But the path for the city has not been straightforward. A month before the vote, City Council effectively blocked marijuana licensing in Yatoma with an amendment to zoning rules. And now the council is flipping it again. Auburn Hills Mayor Kevin McDaniel and his economic development team declined to comment on the matter, and more than a dozen emails to members of the Auburn Hills City Council were not returned. Damn. Could debt domino effect topple Michigan's marijuana business? Mounting debt, folding businesses are shaking the foundation of the cannabis financial industry. Crazy because I just read Detroit approved 50 more dispensaries, and that'll take them probably to 720 dispensaries. Michigan market has 2 growers for every retailer, fueling a price plummet in flower and distillate. I heard you can get fucking ounces now for like $40, $35 in Michigan. How are you making any money?
Yeah.
Volume? You got to sell a lot of fucking pounds then. Add in stubborn black market and out-of-state products. How is even out-of-state product? Why would you even want any out-of-state products? The products in Michigan are really good if you know where to go. Caregivers. Illegally seeping into the supply and profits margins are sinking. with every buy one, get one deal. I fucking hate BOGOs. The multi-billion-dollar industry is reckoning with how to stabilize the supply chain, leaning on credit by introducing new rules. On the heels of court filings exposing millions in debt from major names in the industry, the Cannabis Regulatory Agency has proposed denying a license or license renewal based on civil judgments or court orders resulting from unpaid debt. The debt rule is popular among processors and growers, said Scott Roberts, a Detroit-based cannabis attorney and broker. For them, this is a godsend, he said. To go through the district court process takes a lot of time, and to have this kind of extra bite to the collections process, it's great for them. If you're a dispensary owner that's robbing Peter to pay Paul, not so great for you. Price volatility on flower has slowly leveled. In May, the recreational price per ounce was $90.64, inching up month over month, but far from the 21 cent price points just 2 years ago. Even so, it's the growers and processors who consistently get caught in the red as they sell their product on a line of credit to retailers who are slow to fulfill their end of the deal. Roberts has seen clients tallying up 7 figures of debt as unpaid invoices ranging from $20,000 to $50,000 pile on top of each other from multiple retailers not paying within a 30-day period. There goes my one article I read, is the cannabis industry collapsing. Brian Hanna, executive director of the regulatory agency, has been hearing complaints of business shorting each other since he took the helm in fall of 2022. The agency's way of having the dialogue of this 13-page proposed rules with stakeholders. There is no deadline for receiving feedback. As it pertains to the debt rule, Hanna said he's open to attaching a dollar amount threshold or other criteria to rein in petty squabbles. While creating the playbook and running the playbook at the same exact time, he said, I don't want to get our agency into position while we're calling balls and strikes per se, but these should be some form of judgment. Relying on credit has created a house of cards within an industry that already had a weak financial backbone. Without federal recognition, cannabis businesses are often backed into a corner of highest interest rate lenders and small credit unions because national banks see the industry as a financial risk, as we talked about earlier, and why it's collapsing. This is the root argument for those in favor of a Safe Banking Act. The 8th iteration of the bill is currently being considered in Congress. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel voiced her support after a string of more than 20 dispensary break-ins across the state targeting safes. Nessel said the cannabis business is left as a ripe target for criminals without access to traditional banking institutions. Operating in an industry that remains federally illegal also puts the cannabis industry in a precautious position when it comes to debt. I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, don't forget, we're still all in the fucking traditional market because it's still federally illegal. Just because the states approved it, the fucking federal agencies come in and do whatever the fuck they want. So we're still all in the traditional market. Operating in an industry that remains federally illegal also puts the cannabis industry in a position when it comes to debt. Cannabis businesses cannot claim bankruptcy and receive relief from the courts. In the eyes of the federal government, a cannabis business is operating as a criminal enterprise, a charge mainly associated with drug trafficking. In turn, these businesses fall into receivership with their lenders, meaning the creditors gain management of the company's finances to recoup debt. Since 2019, 8 licenses have fallen into receivership, according to the Cannabis Regulatory Agency. The most high profitable among them is Green Peak Industries, parent company of Skymen. Skymen is $127 million in debt, was aired out in March in court, and I read about that. Despite being on Michigan's largest cannabis brands, with 24 retail locations and over 600 employees, and I feel so bad for the employees, there were financial concerns dating back to March of 2022, court documents state. During MLive interviews, cannabis insiders in all sectors name them example that spooked them about the financial fragility of the industry. When asked to comment on regulatory agencies' proposed rule tying debt to licenses, they were offered the following statement. It would be inappropriate for us to comment on or speculate about CRA's rulemaking process. Our focus is on continuing to provide high-quality products and service to our customers throughout Michigan. We do have a lot of people who owe us money and unpaid bills. It gets frustrating because when we can't pay our bills on time, if we're not being paid, they said, it turns into a domino effect that's very dangerous for the industry because we don't want one person going down to affect dozens of companies across the state. Watching businesses fold has shifted her perspective in the last 6 months. Reputations and relationships are on the line. Word gets around quick and who isn't paying their bills. However, as large companies buy out smaller operations, it's hard to cut off businesses with bad actors. I'm going to read this last line. To have any shot of some of these Michigan companies doing well enough in Michigan to expand and actually having national cannabis companies that started in Michigan, they got to find a way to strengthen the industry financially. I think this is not me. This is the person talking. I think this does that long term, but in the short term, it's going to cause a lot of pain. Crazy, right? All correlation with that one article I read. Nuts. Oklahoma's medical cannabis industry oversupplied by 32-fold, says regulators. Legal weed sales in Minnesota can reach $1.5 billion by 2029. Crazy. Maryland, this Saturday, July 1st, get ready to go to dispensaries and buy some weed. Congrats, Maryland. Fort Wayne representatives calls for Indiana Republicans to legalize cannabis. Good for you, Fort Wayne. I've smoked a lot of cannabis in Fort Wayne. I've gotten a lot of people high on Mrs Weedman's edibles in Fort Wayne. Cannabis sales fail to take off in New York after legislation. There's just not enough fucking dispensaries. It's plain and simple. And if I can grow 5 pounds of weed in New York, I ain't fucking buying fucking weed from anybody but myself. Pay myself. Breath test for cannabis. Can you get a breath test for cannabis, Mrs. Weedman?
This is interesting. Another one. Another good one. We all know if we stop at a checkpoint for drunk driving, there's a breathalyzer test in our near future. But what about weed? Does a breath test work for weed? With states instituting THC limits for driving, is this something we should expect? A recently released federal study addressed this exact issue. Whew, cotton mouth. An alcohol breathalyzer test is able to pick up the amount of alcohol in your system just from your breath. This is because the ethanol in alcohol, the stuff that gets you drunk, comes out in your breath as vapor. This means when you're breathing out and have alcohol in your system, a certain amount of the ethanol is coming out as a vapor in each breath. Think of sitting next to a drunk friend and the smell of alcohol emanating out. This is why. That aroma wafting out is representative of the amount of alcohol in their system. The amount of alcohol in the vapor corresponds to the amount of ethanol in a bloodstream. In this way, your blood alcohol content is measurable by your breath. Now think of weed. It doesn't waft out of a person in the same way. You might smell smoke in clothing or even a little on someone's breath, but that doesn't stick around very long. Right now, if a person is to be tested for a criminal penalty, it must be through blood or urine, though generally blood. Drugged driving laws concerning THC limits require blood tests. Blood tests are for very recent use, and they test the amount of THC in plasma. Urine tests can turn up shaky results, as they don't distinguish between recent use and use from several weeks ago. Beyond this, there are plenty of differences between alcohol and weed. Some might be a bit subjective, but for the most part, the differences are pretty universal. Alcohol inhibits self-consciousness and personal inhibitions. It makes people feel more powerful and is associated with people doing things they might not do otherwise. Weed, on the other hand, can certainly change how a person feels, but not generally to a point of being out of control or without the ability to make rational decisions. While both weed and alcohol can have an effect on ability to drive, as of yet, weed simply hasn't been associated with the damage of drunk driving. No one seems to be able to give a clear answer on whether cannabis is actually dangerous when driving. That's the thing about alcohol. It so often makes people do things they wouldn't ordinarily do. People drink so much that they pass out, they throw up, they endure horrible hangovers.
The worst.
Yeah. But if you smoke too much weed, you're liable just to get pretty hungry, but not sick, not damaged, not acting like a huge idiot. It should be remembered.
Unless you're Mr. Weedman.
On sativas. uppy. It should be remembered that despite the bad rap weed still gets due to smear campaigns, there still aren't deaths directly attached to it. This is in contrast to drinking, which is the number 2 death toll substance. A federally funded study covering THC in breath aerosols collected with an impaction filter device before and after legal market product inhalation was a pilot study, and it tried to determine if a breath test could be used for weed the way that it's used for alcohol. The study was published in the Journal of Breath Research. In case you didn't know that was there, now you know. In order to test breath for THC, study investigators used an impaction filter to pick up aerosols from the breath of participants. This was done before and after smoking cannabis flower procured from legal establishments. Let's make that clear. The cannabis had 25% Delta 9 THC. Before the test collection happened, all participants gave an initial breath test to act as baseline. This happened 4 weeks prior to the test. For the test, participants had their breath collected 2 times, once 15 minutes prior to smoking and then 1 hour after. The cannabis was smoked at the participant's home, but their breath collection was done in a mobile laboratory, stated as federally compliant. Participants were given breathing exercises meant to produce the most aerosols. Investigators used liquid chromatography for analysis, along with tandem mass spectrometry. The study went on for over 1 year, and it involved 18 participants total and included 42 breath test samples from weed smokers. According to the breath analysis, 31% of participants had THC in their breath at the baseline intake, so they're stoners. But only 30% of them. At the time, the actual study, their measurement beforehand was 36%. So someone else took under the getting stoned train. And then 36% had THC in their breath before smoking for the study, and 80% had THC in their breath an hour after smoking. But they all smoked. Strange, right? The data from an hour, so this is all over the place. The data from an hour after smoking was compared to results from 6 other studies that tested the same thing. According to the study findings, investigators believe that THC has extremely low volatility and is hypothesized to be carried in breath by aerosol particles formed from lung surfactant. The results are more easily understood as all participants supposedly smoked, and a clear 20% didn't show up positive for THC, specifically after smoking for the study. They conclude that in order to get a better idea of the situation, more and larger investigations are needed, with more points in time measured after use. As of right now, there isn't statistically significant data to back up that a breath test is useful for THC detection in a uniform way. So for the present time and the foreseeable future, if you take a breathalyzer test, it is just for drinking. Alcohol is associated with a lack of control, destructive decisions, violence, and drunk driving. There's a huge death toll associated with it. Whether looking at damage done to drinkers or the damage they cause, there isn't even a consensus that weed affects one's driving ability. Plus, some research says there's a decrease in driving accidents in places with legalization policies.
Yeah, because everybody drives slow.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, they're thinking the whole time, stay straight, stay between the lines,
They're just
look out in
cruising.
front of you, cruise the speed limit. You're not doing 90 when you're baked.
Right.
Fuck no. I'm doing the speed limit when I'm baked. So you're conscious of thinking of driving. When you're drunk, you're fucking doing
you don't
100
even know
miles
what you're
per hour,
doing.
weaving it out of people, racing people, fucking doing stupid shit. So I like this. This is good. Go ahead, Miss Weedman. Sorry.
That's all right. In terms of alcohol, 2016 data released by the CDC states that approximately every 50 minutes, someone dies because of a drunk driver. This totals approximately 29 deaths per day. In 2016 alone, there were 10,497 road deaths attributed to drunk driving, which accounted for 28% of the year's total road deaths. That year, 17% of the 1,233 children who died on the road were killed by drunk drivers. Man, no one questions whether alcohol causes an issue on the roadways. We all know it does. Weed isn't associated with violence. It's not associated with a total lack of control. It's not associated with death. When something has been around for as long as cannabis and it isn't associated with things like violence and death or driving inability, why is it such a good use of taxpayers' money to do these studies? And all I have to say is that I like to travel safe roadways. But it really is ultimately a bit unclear if a weed breath test, like, what is it for, right? I mean, why are they going to do this? Without an association to driving issues, a threat of violence or death, or a cause to worry about destruction, it's hard to understand the motivation. Very true. But this is where we are, and sooner or later, it might be a standard thing.
Keep peanut butter in your car. Take the fucking smell out of your breath like that.
Glue your mouth shut if you had cotton mouth, and then you just like swallow a big old spoon.
Well, it'd be funny if
Oh
the
my
fucking
gosh.
officer comes up to the car and you got a fucking mouthful of peanut butter. Oh
my God.
International news. Colombia bill to legalize cannabis stalls out in final set of vote despite getting majority support. That's wrong. Colombia, you were on your way. What happened? Come on now. 3 states in Australia push for adult use cannabis. MPs in Victoria, NSW, and Western Australia introduced a bill that would legalize cannabis for adults, and it would do huge amounts, it says in this article by High Times, what legalized cannabis can do in that country. So $243 million per year in the first 5 years to Western Australia alone, they said. That's crazy. And then also in Australia, 100,000 Australians were prescribed medicinal cannabis for chronic pain in 2022. Is it effective when is it legal to take? This article is pretty long. I'm not going to read it, but 100,000 prescriptions were written for chronic pain last year, and then medicinal cannabis trailed to manage existential distress. Is it legal to drive? No, it's illegal to drive in Australia with any amount of THC in your system. Never forget that. Athletes required exemption to take medicinal cannabis. That's kind of cool. So go Australia. You should have legalized it quick, sooner than later. What are the most weed-friendly travel destinations in the world?
Yeah.
What's the new study and what are they ranked?
All right. Well, weed lovers know the struggle. When you're traveling abroad, it is not a given that you'll be able to puff it and pass it with your friends. While in the U.S., weed is getting legalized in an increasing number of states and has a broad support among the population, there are countries in the world in which cannabis consumption and possession is still considered very much illegal. But if you don't want to give up smoke on your vacation, getting informed is the first step. It's no surprise, then, that Google searches for, quote-unquote, weed-friendly vacation spots have risen by 600% in the U.S., Luckily for you, though, you won't even need to run that search. Weedar, a loyalty and distribution platform for cannabis brands, has analyzed 48 popular tourist destinations and produced a ranking of the 15 most weed-friendly countries in the world. To come up with the results, the platform took into account 4 different factors, including legality, average cost, penalties, and the percentage of people using cannabis in the area. The good news is Americans won't have to travel that far to blaze it in peace. And at the very top of the list is Canada, where weed is legal and costs an average of $6.90 per gram, or about $24 for an eighth.
How about give away that 1.35 billion you have there? Just give it to fucking people to come in your country and just enjoy that beautiful country of yours. Oh, Canada.
The study also estimates that 27% of Canadians use cannabis, which also contributed to its first place ranking. If you're looking for a warmer destination instead, you can head over to Mexico, which took the silver medal. Cannabis is legal in Mexico as well, and it is pretty affordable too, costing an average of $7.90 per gram, or about $28 for an eighth.
Wait. Mexico is not recreational legal yet. There's not recreational dispensaries. It's medicinal.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think it's decriminalized, though, down there.
As the study points out, though, you might want to consider lighting up in a more intimate setting rather than busy areas, because only an estimated 2.1% of the country's population uses cannabis. I didn't know that.
I didn't. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Third on the list is Australia.
Yay, Tez. Yay, reefer terps.
Where cannabis is only partly legal and slightly more expensive, costing an average of $10.10 per gram, or $35 for an eighth. An estimated 11.6% of the Australian population uses cannabis, according to the study, and many people there consider themselves avid smokers. So here are the top 10 destinations where you can enjoy weed. We will have the full list in the article blurb on the podcast link.
You know what was crazy?
What?
Netherlands didn't make the list.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, you're not done? I'm sorry.
Top 10 destinations, Mr. Weedman. Where are we going to go next? Number 1, Canada. Number 2, Mexico. Number 3, Australia. 4, Italy. 5, Netherlands. 6, Chile or Chile. 7, Argentina. 8, Spain.
Yay.
9, Portugal.
Yay.
And 10, Costa Rica. So those are some places where you can travel and enjoy your weed.
Yeah, Netherlands made it in the top 5, but they weren't number 1. The United States of America wasn't even in the top 15.
No, this is for traveling abroad. Are you high or something?
I'm very
I think
high.
you're high.
But at
I've
least
never phased out while you're talking.
They at least could have made it, like, put at least the United States there for people that wanted to come to this country and enjoy cannabis. They could at least said put us like 16.
Right.
Somewhere on the list.
Can't have.
I'm high.
Yeah, you're high. It's okay.
Thanks, Jay Cush.
I'm high too.
Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
that's the end of the show.
Time to wrap her up.
Wrap her up.
Smoke some more weed.
Jay Cush, thank you for sponsoring the show with apples and bananas, or bananas and apples, and all the fun and good strain,
good
my
stuff.
friend. Thanks, Jay Cush. We appreciate your brother for that, sponsoring the show tonight and getting us baked. Miss Weedman, you got anything else to say before we wrap it up?
Have a great week, everybody. Hope your weather is good and your life is even better. Like Mr. Weedman always says. What do you always say now? Get out and live.
Live.
Live, people.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Happy 4th.
Smoke some big fat doinks at your barbecues and light your fucking fireworks up with your doinks.
That's one way to celebrate.
Man, I mean, your pops and me, we used to light them up with cigs.
Yeah.
So light them up with a joint. It's even better. Enjoy your 4th of July, everybody. Smoke some big fat joints out there. We love you all. Thanks for listening. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.